The reason you feel mentally cluttered isn't that your day is too busy, it's that your brain is trapped holding chaotic thoughts. We'll show you the 3-step scientific journal system that instantly clears your mind in 3 minutes flat.
Okay, let's really dig into this because this one idea, it changes everything. We love to blame our calendars, our bosses, our never-ending notifications for our lack of focus. We think the problem is external, just too much stuff to do. But the real issue, the one that's secretly just draining all your energy, it's internal. It's a storage problem. I mean, have you ever felt like your brain just has way too many tabs open? You're trying to focus on one single thing, but there are dozens of others running in the background, just slowing everything down. Your mind becomes this cluttered desktop covered in hundreds of unsaved, untitled documents. And what happens? The machine slows down, it starts to lag, it crashes. You forget why you even walked into a room, you can't remember that brilliant idea you had in the shower. It's not because the work is too hard, but because the entire operating system is just choked with clutter. This explainer is all about how to close all of those open documents systematically.
So we're going to treat this like a complete masterclass in mental clarity. First up, we'll unpack the clarity paradox, this really counterintuitive truth about how your mind actually finds focus. Then, we're going to diagnose the problem with the science of overload, finally giving a name to that feeling of being completely overwhelmed. Next, I'll give you the exact blueprint, the 3-minute reset system. After that, we'll get into the neuroscience of clarity to prove why this simple system has such a profound effect. Then, we'll build out your 3-step daily protocol, your exact action plan for tomorrow morning. And finally, we'll land on the single most important principle to guide you, that your mind is for ideas, not for storage. Let's start with the paradox. The typical advice when you're feeling overwhelmed is to just manage your thoughts better, right? To think harder, to try and organize things inside your head. But that is exactly the wrong approach. It's kind of like trying to clean up a messy room by just shuffling the piles around. The real goal isn't to become a better mental juggler. The goal is to get the thoughts out of your head and into a system that you can actually trust. So the secret to mental clarity isn't holding on to your thoughts more tightly, it's learning how to let them go into a trusted external system, so your mind can finally be free to do what it was designed for. This slide really reframes the entire purpose of your mind. Think about it. For tens of thousands of years, the human brain evolved to be this incredible idea generation machine. It's a survival tool, designed to spot patterns, connect random concepts, imagine futures, and solve brand new problems. It is a world-class CPU, a creative processor that has no equal. But it is a terrible, terrible hard drive. It's leaky, it's unreliable, and it's totally emotionally biased. It was not designed to remember a 17-item grocery list or the 6 random things your boss mentioned in passing. Trying to use your brain for storage is literally like using a Formula 1 race car to haul gravel. You're using an elite tool for the absolute wrong job, and you're just damaging the machinery in the process. You're wearing out the engine on tasks a simple wheelbarrow, or in our case, a notebook could handle perfectly.
So what really happens when we use our high-performance brain like a cheap, faulty hard drive? Well, the consequences are very real, and science actually has a name for it. This feeling of being constantly overwhelmed, of being mentally exhausted before the day has even really started, that's not just in your head. It has a name, it has a mechanism, and it has a real biological cost that's impacting your performance and your well-being every single day.
The primary enemy that we are fighting is called cognitive overload. I want you to think of your working memory as your brain's RAM. It's the mental desktop space you have available for conscious thinking right now. And it's incredibly powerful, but also incredibly limited. Neuroscientists suggest we can only hold about 4 distinct chunks of information there at any one time. So when you try to hold on to too many open loops, that email you need to send, the call you have to make, that worry about a future meeting, what you're going to make for dinner, you completely max out your RAM. And just like a computer, when the RAM is full, your executive function, your ability to focus, make good decisions, and regulate your emotions, it just crashes. That feeling of brain fog, that's your executive function literally grinding to a halt under the weight of too much stored data.
So what's actually filling up our mental RAM? The mechanism is called perseverative cognition, but we usually call it rumination. This is the mental hamster wheel. It's your brain running the same unresolved thoughts and worries over and over and over again, kind of like a corrupted background process that's just eating up all your processing power. It feels like you're thinking, but you're not actually problem solving. You're just replaying a stressful conversation or worrying about a deadline without actually making a plan. This spinning is incredibly draining because it's fueled by anxiety. Your brain is essentially screaming at you, "Don't forget this is important," without ever moving toward a solution. It locks you in this state of high alert and, you guessed it, low productivity.
And the psychological trigger for that mental hamster wheel, it's called the Zeigarnik effect. This is this fascinating little quirk of our minds that was discovered way back in the 1920s. Psychologists noticed that waiters could remember these incredibly complex orders perfectly, right up until the bill was paid. The moment the task was complete, the details just vanished. Our brains are hardwired to obsess over incomplete tasks. It's the reason a cliffhanger at the end of a TV show drives you absolutely crazy. Every single open loop in your life, every unanswered email, every unfinished project, every postponed decision, acts like a browser tab left open in your mind. And each one plays this tiny nagging audio clip on repeat, consuming a little slice of your attention and your mental energy. 10 tabs might be manageable, but 100, your entire system just slows to a crawl.
And look, this isn't just a metaphor. It has a serious biological cost. First, all that constant rumination spikes cortisol, the stress hormone. And a steady drip of cortisol is linked to everything from weight gain to a weaker immune system. Second, it leads to chronic decision fatigue. Your brain has a finite budget for making good decisions each day. And when you waste it on all these trivial internal debates, you have nothing left for what truly matters. It's why you're more likely to make a poor choice at the end of a long day. Third, it depletes the resources of your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, the part responsible for willpower and long-term planning. And finally, as we've seen, it just consumes your most precious mental asset, your working memory. The crucial point here is, this mental clutter isn't harmless. It is actively degrading your performance and your well-being.
Okay, so that was the diagnosis. And I know it's a bit sobering, but understanding the problem is the absolute first step to solving it. So now, for the prescription. The solution isn't to just try harder. It's to use a better system. An architecture that's designed specifically to counteract the forces of cognitive overload, rumination, and the Zeigarnik effect. This is the 3-minute reset system, and it is your way out.
The system is built on 3 distinct phases, and each one has a very specific job. First, we unload, getting every single thing out of your head and onto paper with the brain dump. Second, we filter, transforming all that chaos into order with the structured triage. And third, we prime, setting a clear and powerful intention for the day with the focus and gratitude lock. Unload, filter, prime. It's simple, it's fast, and it just works. Let's break down each step.
Step 1 is the most critical, and honestly the most liberating. You set a timer for 3 minutes, you take a pen and paper, and you just write. Continuously. The only rule is that there are no rules. This is a zero-filter sprint. You don't judge, you don't organize, you don't even worry about your spelling. Write down tasks, worries, ideas, frustrations, fragments of song lyrics. If it is in your head, it goes on the page. Call mom, Q3 report deadline. Why was that meeting so awkward? Need to buy milk. That brilliant idea for a new project. All of it. This simple act of writing it down is a direct signal to your brain that these thoughts are now captured and they're safe. Just imagine the relief of closing all those open mental browser tabs at once, instantly silencing the nagging of the Zeigarnik effect. Okay, once the dump is complete, you immediately begin step 2, the structured triage. This takes maybe 60 seconds, and it's where you bring order to the chaos. You quickly scan your list and assign one of 3 simple symbols to each item. A for actionable, a specific task that needs to be done, like email Steve. I for information, something you need to save or remember, like a website or a book recommendation. And E for emotional, a feeling, a worry, or a reflection, like anxious about the presentation. This simple act of sorting transforms a big list of anxieties into a set of manageable categories. It is the exact moment you shift from being a victim of your thoughts to becoming the architect of your focus.
The final step, in the final minute, is the lock. After clearing out all the clutter and sorting the inputs, you pivot from being reactive to being proactive. And you ask yourself 2 questions. First, looking at your A items, you ask, what are the 1 to 3 most important tasks, or MITs, that will make today a success? This defines your focus. Second, what are 1 to 3 specific things I am genuinely grateful for right now? And this isn't just about feeling good. Practicing gratitude has been scientifically shown to reduce stress and increase resilience by boosting neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. It primes your emotional state for the day ahead. This final step locks in your intention, ensuring you don't just start with a clear mind, but a mind that is primed for high-leverage action and emotional resilience.
So this system feels good, sure, but why does it work so effectively on a biological level? This isn't just some productivity hack, it's a protocol that's rooted in the fundamental workings of our brain. When you perform this ritual, you are literally initiating a cascade of positive neurological changes. Let's look under the hood at the neuroscience that makes this 3-minute ritual so incredibly powerful.
There are 3 core psychological mechanisms that this system just switches on. First, it systematically frees finite working memory, our most valuable cognitive resource, which allows for much deeper thought. Second, it actively reduces anxiety and cortisol by engaging the logical, planning part of your brain. And third, it harnesses the power of focus priming to direct your attention and energy for the rest of the day. Let's dive into each one.
Let's start with working memory. The core principle of David Allen's famous Getting Things Done methodology is that your head is a crappy office. By performing the brain dump, you're executing what's called a cognitive offload. You're moving all that low-level data from your brain's precious RAM onto an external hard drive, your notebook. This prevents what psychologists call ego depletion, which is just the draining of your limited willpower and executive function. You get to conserve that energy not for remembering to buy milk, but for solving complex problems, for being creative, for doing the deep, focused work that actually moves the needle in your life.
Okay, this is what's so fascinating about what's happening in your brain during this process. You have two key parts in this constant tug-of-war: the amygdala, which is your primal fear center that just screams, "Panic!" and the prefrontal cortex, or PFC, the logical CEO that says, "Okay, let's make a plan." Rumination is basically the amygdala running wild, keeping you in a state of fight or flight. But the moment you start the structured triage, labeling your thoughts as actionable, informational, or emotional, you've forced your PFC to engage. The simple act of labeling and structuring literally strengthens the PFC's control over the amygdala. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The scary shadows just become furniture again. This sends a neurological signal to calm down, which in turn reduces the production of the stress hormone cortisol. You are literally using logic to soothe your primal brain.
Theory is powerful, but execution is everything. Knowing why this works is important, but applying it is what will actually change your life. So, let's get ruthlessly pragmatic here. How do you turn this into an automatic, non-negotiable part of your day starting tomorrow morning? Here is your exact 3-minute daily protocol.
Here it is again, but this time framed as your new daily standard operating procedure. Step 1, the 3-minute chaos dump. Timer on, pen moving, absolutely no filter. Step 2, the instant structured triage. A quick scan, assign your A, I, or E symbols. You can transfer any of the A items to your official to-do list for later. Step 3, the focus and gratitude lock. Define your 1 to 3 MITs for the day and write down what you're grateful for. That's it, 3 minutes. The goal here is to make this ritual as automatic and essential as brushing your teeth. It's just foundational mental hygiene.
The real secret to making any new behavior stick is a concept from behavioral science called habit stacking. You anchor the new habit you want to build to an existing automatic habit that you already have. So don't just say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow morning." Be specific. Create a rule. After I pour my first cup of coffee, I will immediately open my notebook and start the 3-minute dump. Or maybe after I turn off my alarm, before I even look at my phone, I will sit down and begin. Find your anchor. Link this new ritual to something you already do, without thinking. This completely removes the need for willpower and makes execution nearly effortless. All right, let's bring this all together now. We've covered the paradox, the science, the system, and the strategy for making it a reality. If you walk away with only one idea from this entire explainer, a single principle to guide your entire relationship with your own mind, I want it to be this.
Just let that sink in for a second. Your mind is for having ideas, not for holding them. All the mental energy you are currently spending just trying to keep track of things, that whole mental juggling act, is energy you cannot spend on creating, on solving, on connecting, and on just being present. By building a trusted external system, even one as simple as a 3-minute ritual with a notebook, you liberate your mind to do what it does best. You let your processor run at full speed because you finally stopped asking it to be a faulty hard drive.
Let's bring this all home. At its core, this isn't really just about journaling. It's about reclaiming your most valuable asset, your attention. We've seen how structured journaling systems solve the problem of cognitive overload and that endless cycle of anxiety-driven rumination. And why this matters, why this is so critical, is that it gives you a systematic way to conserve your executive function and gain instant mental clarity on demand. The brain dump is your release valve, immediately freeing up that precious working memory. The structured triage is your control panel, engaging your logical brain to calm the storm of anxiety. And the focus and gratitude lock is your compass, priming your mind for high-leverage action. So here is the challenge. Commit to the system for just one day. Tomorrow morning, set a timer for 3 minutes and do the chaos dump. Don't think about it, just write. Experience for yourself the profound shift that happens when you start your day with a clear, focused mind. This isn't about adding another task to your list. It's about a tiny investment that pays huge dividends in focus, calm, and performance. Because true productivity isn't about doing more, it's about mastering systems that make focus effortless.